Hi everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Now for those of you guys who don't know me, my name is Sarmad and I am currently a first year student studying philosophy, politics and economics at University College London. Now I had just finished my first year of university, so I think now is kind of pretty much the perfect time to make this type of video. And this video is going to be basically just me talking about my first year experience. So as many of you guys know, if you watched some of my previous videos, I did live out in London, so I kind of had that, you know, the full-on first year university experience of living out, having fun, all of that type of stuff. I'm pretty much just going to talk about my experiences, give a couple of tips on what to do and what to kind of expect at university, I guess. This video is going to be in the form of a Q&A. You guys should be following me on Instagram, so it will be up on the screen somewhere. Make sure you follow me on Instagram because on there, I think about a month ago, I think it's been a while, about a month or so ago, I put up a questionnaire just asking what people want to know about university, and I had loads of responses. So I've kind of just filtered out the ones that I like, or the ones that I feel like I'll give the best response with, and yeah, those are the questions I'm going to be answering. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first question that I got asked, or the first one that I thought was probably best to answer, was how was Freshers Week? This is something that for a lot of university students, I'm talking about the majority here, is quite important. For me, Freshers Week wasn't that important, and that's because I don't go clubbing and I don't drink, and I feel like that's mostly what Freshers Week is all about, pretty much just going out and socializing and stuff. Now I am a very social person, so I do like going out and meeting people, but unfortunately Freshers Week only really accommodates for people who go clubbing, etc. So I didn't really make the most of it, and I'm happy I didn't. But you know, for some of my people that I know at university, like my flatmates, they kind of love the experience. Like Freshers Week, they were all about it. Essentially, for anyone who doesn't know what Freshers Week is, it's just a week of university before university actually starts, where everyone's moved into their accommodations and everyone just organizes like parties or get-togethers and at different clubs or different apartments or different accommodations, and people meet up and they socialize. Now I didn't really go to any of those, but if you don't go to any of those, then definitely look out for society events. So some of the societies, although you probably won't know a lot about them yet, there's a lot of societies at universities who do have events within Freshers Week, like icebreaker events, just so you can get to know people. And I think that's a really good starting point for, you know, if you're a bit anxious and you don't think you're going to make a lot of good friends. But yeah, that's pretty much what answered the first question. And it actually brings me quite nicely into the second question, which is, did you struggle to make friends? Now, I think a lot of people have this misconception with university that it's hard to make friends. I feel like a lot of it does come down to who you are as a person. Now for me, I feel like I'm quite a social person, so I feel like I could, you know, I just have the confidence to approach people and just ask them. But I think one piece of advice that I got, and one piece of advice that I definitely want to give to other people, is that at university you just literally have to go out and be a beg and speak to people, because what you need to understand is everyone who's going to university, everyone who's living in these accommodations, 80-90% of them are on their own. They don't have friends living with them, so they're going out to try to do the same thing, make friends. So when you're going up to people and asking them, you know, how are you, and you're asking these questions about, you know, just getting to know them, they're not going to find that weird or awkward, because they know that that's exactly why they're there. So I feel like I just kind of had that mentality to it. I just thought, okay, even if I am being a beg, it's gonna work out for me anyway, because these people are also gonna do the same thing. And that's exactly what happened. I would just approach people and speak to them, and people would approach me and speak to me. So I feel like if you have that mentality where you'll be just going out and speaking to people, you will not have an issue making friends. I feel like if you keep yourself in this box that, oh, I'm not gonna make friends, you're probably gonna restrict yourself, and then that's where you're gonna end up probably not having the best university experience, because I think my friends made up like 80% of it. So yeah, to answer your question, did I struggle to make friends? No, and that's probably my tips as to why. Another thing I do want to stress is society events. I know I'm going to keep saying that in this video, but please make sure that you're making the most of societies, because that's the best way to find people that have the same interests as you. So if you like cricket, go to cricket society. UCL, like, I'm very grateful, because they have so many different societies with so many different people, and it's such a big university. If you do go to smaller university and you maybe don't have the same access to the same societies, if you can, go out and make one, because there's going to be people who will have the same interests as you. So that's just my advice in terms of making friends. Okay, so question 3. How are you finding your course? Okay, so this is a question I get asked quite a lot. So just in case I didn't mention, the course that I do is Philosophy, Politics and Economics, so also known as PPE. Now, one of the reasons why I picked this course wasn't really because I have a really interest in philosophy, politics or economics. It's mainly because of the scope in terms of careers and the stuff that it gives me access to, and the doors that this degree will open for me. That's mainly the reason why I kind of picked this degree. So in terms of how I'm finding it, it is difficult. I'm not gonna lie, it is difficult. There's a lot of work to do, but there have been parts of it that I am starting to like, starting to grow on me. For example, politics. I really like politics compared to the other two disciplines, just because there's a lot of modules in politics that are very, very new and very recent. I think I'm more excited for second year, because in second year of most universities, they give you a bit more room to kind of pick your own modules. So when I pick my own modules, I can pick them more in areas that I'm interested in, and I feel like I'll stick to maybe like my degree a bit more. But it's okay, it's not too bad. My fourth question, which is, and this one I got asked quite a lot, is what is it like living in central London? To answer your question in one word, I would say expensive. It's very, very expensive. But I think I'm going to leave finances aside, because I think everyone's aware of that. I think living in central London is probably one of the greatest things about UCL, because it's amazing. Like, honestly, even just waking up every single day, walking to university, taking the scooters or whatever, it's just such a good experience just to see the city around you. And it just kind of like, coming from Luton, like where I am right now, where I grew up, it's just a completely different environment, and there's so much to do. And I feel like in terms of a university experience as well, it adds to it so much more, because there's always people around you, there's always something to do, there's always something exciting going on. And I feel like that's the thing that central London has to offer you. So I would say it's amazing. Honestly, my favorite thing. I would say if you are local to London, or you are thinking of going to university in London, then I would definitely, if you can obviously afford to, I would say do look into one of the unis that are in central London, just because I think they make the experience just a bit more exciting. But that's my take on it anyway. I have friends who don't live in central London, they live in East London, and they go to universities like, some of them go to like King's College, and they have accommodations in East London, but they love it there as well. So wherever you are, depending on what's around you, you're gonna have fun, because London itself as a city is great. So it's not just central London, the whole city is amazing. Definitely a new experience. I've been to other cities in the UK, but I think London, there's just something special about it. I'm on my fifth question now. So the fifth question of the video is, how was your first term at UCL? The first term at UCL was probably the best term in my experience. The reason I would say that is because I think the first term, like, everyone's really, really new to the university. Everyone's pretty much in the same boat. So in terms of like the social aspect, everyone's kind of coming into university, like, it's the easiest part to make friends with. Even in terms of the course, like, you're just getting started with everything, so everything's really, really slow, and nothing really feels heavy. You don't have huge exams around the corner, or essays due, or lots of coursework. So I feel like it's kind of like the best time, and it's more focused on letting you settle into university, and that's the best part about it. There's one thing about uni that I definitely noticed. I don't know if this is going to be the same going into second year, is that you should really, really make use of your first term at UCL or at any uni. And the reason being is because in second term, I feel like a lot of people start to kind of settle, and they've made their friends. So what I noticed with my friendship groups is a lot of my friends didn't really come into university in the second term, because like in the first time we already made friends, and whenever they would come in, like, first term is when everyone's coming into university, it's so active. So I feel like make the most of your first term, definitely. Second term isn't as exciting, and obviously there's a lot more coursework and exams and stuff to you. So yeah, first term is fun. The whole year is good, but first term definitely better. My sixth question is, would you recommend living out to other people? Right, my answer for this is quite simple. I would say yes, definitely. I would say living out is probably one of the best decisions I made in terms of my university experience, and I'll give you all of the reasons, but I do want to say that there's a lot of factors that come into it. Firstly, living out is not cheap at all. It's very, very expensive, and it is difficult. So I would only really, really recommend it if factors like that are considered. But if you can afford it, and you don't live too far maybe, or you've been thinking of living out and it's something you're really considering, I would say definitely go ahead and take this step, because for me it lived up to the experience. Even, I mean, for most people, social life, let's start with that. Amazing. I mean, I can compare my social life at university with my friends who commuted to the same university, and I can say that I definitely had a much better experience just because of my exposure to the university. When you're living out, like the friends you make are essentially your family, because that's all you're going to be seeing every single day. So you value them a lot more and you value your social time a lot more, and I feel like that just has something great about it, because you just, I don't know, you just enjoy yourself more. In terms of societies as well, you have the time to get more actively involved. You can stay till university till very, very late, and you can get involved in all of these different events, and that's why it was great. Now, in terms of the money side of it as well, for me, I did have a part-time job, so obviously from that I could, you know, get some funds and I can kind of help myself. It's definitely an experience, and I feel like for me, I made the right decision of doing it in my first year, because I feel like that's the time you definitely need the most exposure to the university, because you want to make those friends and then kind of go with it. You don't want to be a third year with no friends, like, you get me. There is parts where it is quite lonely, and you know what, to be fair, I would say that I experienced that even when I was at home. Like, even when I did come home and stay home for a bit, I still experienced loneliness at some points. So that's not really that different. Of course, you are living out in a big city on your own, and there's a lot of things that comes with that. But I feel like if you're responsible and you're mature, like, you just get past that and you'll be okay. I was, and I couldn't even cook. So I have another question. What is a typical week like at UCL? And you have to bear in mind that this year was like, it was quite new, because the past couple of years there was COVID. This year there wasn't really COVID as much, but there was still a lot of precautions in place. So the timetables were a bit different. There was a mixture of in-person, face-to-face teaching, and there was lots of online lessons as well. So if you're talking about a rough week of university, I didn't have a lot of contact hours. Like Monday and Tuesday, for example, I just had one online or in-person session in the morning, 9 to 10 a.m. or 10 to 11 a.m. and then pretty much the rest of the day was free. I think that is kind of the general gist with first year. At most universities, you don't have a lot of contact hours, but to make up for that, there is a lot of reading and work you have to do yourself. So there is that part to it as well. So although you're not going into lessons a lot, you do have a lot of work to do. And then again, you do have a lot of days free. So for example, if you are looking for a part-time job like I did, that's definitely something you can consider. And if you do want to get involved in societies, this year is like the best year. I don't know what timetables are like going into second year, but I'm going to find out and I'm going to see soon. But I can imagine it's going to be a lot more, you know, hours than a first year student. The next question I have is university in London expensive? So I've already touched on this quite a bit, but the answer is most definitely yes. First of all, we can separate out into different things. Accommodation itself is almost double it is compared to universities around the country. So it's expensive, and that's because you are living in central London. And obviously with that comes stuff like food prices. Food prices are a lot more. For your groceries, you're paying a lot more, because London is a bit like that. It's like the capital city in any country you really go to is usually a lot more expensive than the other cities, and that's the same thing with London. So one piece of advice I would definitely give is to have some sort of budget, or at least have control or an understanding of your finances. So don't go into it just thinking, okay, I have a certain amount of overdraft and I'm just going to spend and spend and spend. Have a rough understanding of how much. Like, I did this at the start of university. I didn't really necessarily stick with it, but I did make a plan of how much money I can spend every single week, so that I don't kind of go over my student loan or how much allowance I have. And I think that's a really good starting point. That's definitely something I'd say for everyone to do, just because in some weeks where I was going a bit more crazy, I knew that, okay, in the next couple of weeks I have to show a bit more restraint and spend a bit less. Now, again, I did have a part-time job. I would recommend people to get a part-time job. If you are living in London, there's a ton of places to get there. I was a bit extra with mine. I applied before I even got into university. I applied at Selfridges as a sales associate, just because I wanted to work there. I knew it was good pay, but you can really have a look at anywhere in London. Like, there were so many cafes and stuff that I'd walk past on a daily and I'd see that they were hiring. So it's not really hard to get a part-time job, and I think it definitely does help you. So that's one thing I would recommend, and that's one piece of advice I would give. Okay, so that is the end of my UCL university video. If there's any final pieces of advice that I might have for anyone or is looking to go to university, just don't have too many expectations. And I'm not saying don't have too many high expectations, I'm just saying don't have too many expectations generally, because I feel like that's where a lot of people kind of set themselves up and don't end up having the best experience. With university, everyone's experience is different. I have so many friends who go to UCL, so many friends who come from Luton with me, and I can definitely say that even our experiences of university are so different. Everyone has a different university experience. So people might tell you university is like this, and people might tell you you're not going to make friends, and people might say oh, you know, the work is boring. But really and truly, university is what you're going to make of it. So if you want to make friends and you hear people say you want to make friends, you need to go out and you need to be the social one and you need to talk to people, and that's how you're going to make friends. If people are telling you the course is hard, if you're spending extra time working and revising, you're not going to find the course hard. So I think it's very subjective. I think university is what you make of it, and I don't think, like I said, don't set yourself up, don't have these high expectations of university. Just go in there with an open mind and enjoy yourself. And then yeah, that's pretty much the end of the video. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys have any comments or any, maybe if you guys want me to do another one, I'm more than happy for you guys to leave comments or questions in the comment section, and I can see if I can get to answer. But please do like and subscribe. I'm hopefully looking to be a lot more active with my YouTube channel. So yeah, look out for more university content soon.